You know, it's interesting that, and I'm just going to put this out there for the listeners. One of the things that was in my head when I was sitting there thinking about when I was in my victim mindset for 100%, everything was my ex-husband's fault. It was him. It was him. If he just did this and he just did that and didn't take my own ownership, and it was, I felt deep down inside when I think back on that time is that I couldn't take ownership because as a child, I felt like I was such a screw up all the time and always getting in trouble. And so I don't know. I hope this makes sense, but that's kind of what was going on in my head.
You're talking about shame.
Totally, totally. It is shame.
So you just nailed it. You just nailed it. This is why we don't take ownership. Because for me to take ownership of the parts of me that reacted and
Yeah,
slapped my ex-girlfriend, my ego wants to say, yeah, but she did
exactly.
this. Yeah, but she did that. Yeah, but she did this. And it's a
Right.
justification. What the ego does is trying to protect those vulnerable parts that
Yes.
feel ashamed. So what we do is we justify what we're doing as an unconscious attempt to avoid our shame. And that the cave Joseph Campbell says, the cave you fear entering holds the treasure you seek. So my work, which was painful, was to sit in that chair and to feel the shame, to cry, to feel the embarrassment and the guilt, and to expand my capacity to feel the shame and the
Mm-hmm.
guilt of my unconscious parts of me that reacted the way that I did and hurt my ex-girlfriend. And it was so
Mm-hmm.
painful for me to just hold myself accountable and be like, oh
Mm-hmm.
God, and I would love to be able to have a chat with, be able to get completion. I teach people how to repair, but that's not available in my
Yeah, sometimes
situation.
it's
My
not.
ex really wants to use the court systems to do all that, which is fine. And that happens sometimes. It's not available, it's so healing to just for both parties to sit there and go, I'm sorry I hurt
Mm-hmm.
you. This is what I was dealing with. I've done the work and I see my part in it. And then to hear that from the other side, which is what happened in my first marriage, we totally did that. In my first marriage, there was no abuse or anything like that. I just left. It was 6 years together. And for us to just sit there and go, I was a kid and this is what happened. And this is where I dropped the ball and I would have done it differently. And she was able to do that. And it's so healing to be able to have both
Yeah.
parties become the adult and take full
Mm-hmm.
accountability for their part. But in order to do that, you just nailed it, Lisa. You're going to have a capacity to feel your shame. And once you feel the shame of your unconsciousness and then you have compassion towards that part, then you no longer need to use resentment
Mm-hmm.
to avoid the
Mm-hmm.
shame because the resentment is poison in your
Yes,
system.
it is.